Hello, this is the penultimate chapter of John Masefield's The Box of Delights. Chapter 11. When he returned to the house, Maria had a special edition of the Tatchester paper.
"Kate," she said, "you're losing all the fun. They've tried to squabble another clergyman who was walking into Tatchester from Tinnerton."
"Did they get him?" Kay asked.
"No, they didn't get him," Maria said. "Here's the account. I'll read it.
Church bandits foiled. It seems now that the recent outrages at Tatchester are the work of an organised gang. We are happy to state that on this occasion the scoundrels were defeated. The Reverend Josiah Stalwart, rector of Tinnerton, had undertaken, in answer to the bishop's plea, to be prepared in case of need to help with the services in the cathedral tonight. While proceeding to Tatchester along the Roman road, he was passed by a dark motor car, in which were two men who got out and asked if he would like a lift. Not quite liking their looks, and being naturally on his guard in view of recent events, he declined the lift, and at once the taller man attempted to fling over his head what seemed like a felt bag, while the accomplice tried to deal him a short-arm punch in the ribs. The Reverend Stalwart avoided the felt bag and smote his shorter assailant on the head with a holly cudgel, which had been lately presented to him by his admiring colleagues of the Tinnerton hockey team. The ruffians, realising too late the kind of man with whom they had to deal, darted into the car, the engine of which had been kept running, and were at once out of sight, going at great speed. Needless to say, the precautions of the police have been trebled on every road leading to Tatchester. In future, no clergyman will proceed to Tatchester to take Christmas duty save under police protection. We understand that the Tinnerton Hockey Club has sent a long telegram of congratulation to their victorious captain."
"You see," Maria said, "they've been diddled this time. The Reverend Josiah must be a bit of a boy to take on too."
Kay went back to his room, thinking, "They've had a good deal of success, but this setback, coming at this time, will make Abner furious, and he may proceed to extremes. I must find out what he intends to do." It was now very nearly 2:30. Kay went back to his room, locked himself in, and crawled underneath the valance of the dressing table. He turned the knob of the box so that he might go both swift and little to Abner's room at Chester Hills. He was set down in the upper corridor of the Theological College, near a door that stood ajar under the little label "Chief." Kay listened near this door, but nobody seemed to be within. He peeped in. No one was there. He slipped inside, and then, as he wished to examine the room, he resumed his proper shape and closed the door. Then suddenly he heard voices just outside. Abner was saying, "But I left this door ajar." A key pressed into the lock, giving Kay just time to press the knob of the box so that he might go small when the door opened, and Abner and Joe came in. Kay squeezed into a recess by the fireplace. "Funny thing about that door," Abner said. "I left it ajar purposely. Someone's been in here and left the window open. Do you know who's been in?"
"No, Chief," Joe said. "Course I don't."
"No, of course, about it," Abner snapped. "Now then, listen to me. Who sent those two fools to tackle Josiah Stalwart?"
"I did,"
Joe growled. "Didn't I give strict orders that no scrobbling party was to consist of less than 4?
"That was before we were short-handed."
Did I or did I not give those orders?"
"Nah, Chief," Joe said. "Chuck it. I'd have sent 4 after Stalwart if I'd have had 4 to send. You never told us Stalwart was a champ. You told me I was to get him scrobbled, and I did what we could. If you had seen 11 and 12 before 17 dressed their wounds, you might feel a little sorry for 'em."
"What did Stalwart do to them, 2 against 1?
"He cracked 12's crown across a fair treat. He gave 11 an eye like a stained glass window. They're marked for a month, the pair of 'em."
"And a jolly good job," Abner said. "I wish Stalwart had given them a cauliflower ear. I wish he'd knocked their silly noses west
and banged their ribs blue, and yours too.
Chief, Joe said, we'll set that aside if you don't mind. While you've been in Tatchester, I've been thinking of things and I've made up my mind.
So, you made up your mind, did you?
Abner asked.
Yes, Chief, I did.
I didn't know you had a mind, but I'm glad to hear it. And so you've made it up.
Yes, Chief, I have.
What did you decide?
Abner asked.
Tomorrow's Christmas Day.
So I hear. What about it?
Christmas Day is rather a special day. We don't like keeping all those poor captives away from their homes on Christmas Day.
We don't like. Who are we?
All a lot of us. We want you to return all the captives tonight, by air, with a £10 note apiece. The ones we got at the bank robbery. Then the old thing would pass off as a rag, and it would tell in our favour if we ever come to be tried. And there's another thing we've got to speak about, Joe continued stubbornly.
Got to speak about?
Abner said.
Then speak it. Proceed.
I've been telling them about your magic and that, Joe said. What we don't see is why you don't use magic to find this box that you set such store by.
You don't believe in magic, I think, but perhaps this may convince you.
Abner said.
Watch now.
He lifted his hand in a strange way and uttered some foreign words in a loud, clear voice. Instantly the figure of a boy with a bony, unintelligent and unpleasant face appeared through Abner's desk.
What do you want me for now?
He growled.
No pertness,
Abner said.
Tell the gentleman what Cole Hawlings did with his box.
He gave it to somebody to keep for him,
The boy said.
I told you that before.
Learn civility.
Abner said.
To whom did he give it?
I don't know. He put spells round it so I couldn't see the person. Let me go.
If you're not careful and civil, I'll peg you into a waterfall,
Abner said.
Am I nearer to getting the box than I was?
Yes, you're very near to it,
The boy said.
Shall I get it?
You'll have it under your hand today. Now, I want to go. I've told you everything.
Don't try to dictate to me.
Abner said.
The gentleman would like to ask you something. Ask him anything you want to know, Joe.
Joe did not much relish speaking to the boy, but at last he asked,
What is in this box? The way into the past. I will not be questioned by you.
Yes, you will.
Abner said.
Anything else, Joe?
Yes. What will win the national?
Kubadar.
Commoner, by 7 lengths. Now, I'm going.
Wait, my insolent friend.
Abner said.
You will have a little lesson before you go.
As the boy approached, Abner tapped him on the top of the head with a timetable. The head at once telescoped into the chest, and the legs telescoped into his body.
Off now,
Abner said.
You'll stay plugged under the waterfall for 7 weeks for insolence. Perhaps that may teach you.
The boy vanished into the desk, howling loudly in the middle of his chest. Abner touched something in the corner over his head, then went to the hearthrug and stamped upon it with some force. There came a clicking, clacking noise, and Kay saw the fireplace slide open like a door, revealing a lift lit with an electric light.
Come on, then,
Abner said. The two men stepped into the lift, and Kay darted after them, as the fireplace closed too. Abner pressed a red button in the lift wall, and the lift slowly began to move down. When it stopped, the chief opened the door, and Kay followed as he and Joe stepped out. He was in a wide, high cavern or gallery, stretching to right and left in the rock. Kay heard water dropping drop by drop, like the tick of a very slow clock, and saw what seemed like a range of ships' cabins stretching along the side of the gallery. Abner went to the door of the first of these, pulled aside a shutter, turned on a light to light the cell within, and spoke through the opening.
"And how is the dear bishop?"
he said.
"Christmas sermon getting on well? Well. And will you tell me where the package is?"
"I'll tell you, ruffian," the bishop answered, "that I know nothing of any package.
These pleasantries had better cease." "Tell me where the package is," he said, "and they shall cease, and starvation shall cease, and you shall have a savoury omelette and coffee and rolls and honey. What you want? Water from the well, then, and darkness to meditate upon it."
He switched out the light, fastened the shutter, and moved to another door.
"Dean," he said, "still cheerful? Splendid. Can you tell me of the package yet? What you don't know anything about it? That won't do for me, my Dean. Think again. Keep cheerful."
He went from cell to cell, asking the inmates where the box was. Some said, "We don't know what you mean." Others said, "You're mad. The police will soon run you down to be sure."
"Don't you be too sure," Abner said. "And here, I think, are the canons minor. How that brings back my Latin. Major, minor, minimus. And here are my minor canons going to tell me of the package."
By this time Abner had reached the cells at the end, raising his voice so that he could be heard all along the gallery.
"So you are all stubborn," he said. "You'll find that I'm stubborn and the rock is stubborn, and not all the police in Europe could find you where you are now. One of you knows where this package is. Tell me, and you should all be at home within the day. If not, I can last, and the rock will last, but I don't think you will."
He turned to Joe, who was at his side.
"By the way, Joe,"
he still said, in his loud voice,
"this cell at the end here, we put the Earl into it, you remember, because he wouldn't pay the ransom. 7 years ago, I think it was. You remember?"
"I remember well. A dark, handsome man, the Earl, very well dressed."
"That's the man,"
Abner said, unlocking the cell door.
"Just step in, will you, and see if his bones are still there?"
Kay saw Joe step into the lighted cell and pretend to rummage in the corners.
"Just a rib, and there's a skull and a rib or two," Joe said. "Oh, and his marriage ring."
"Quite so,"
Abner said, locking him into the cell and switching out the light.
"And now, my dear Joe, with a made-up mind, meditate with these holy men on the error of your ways. Another time you may not be so brave as to tell me that I am making a mistake."
Joe beat upon the door, shouting threats and curses at Abner as he moved away, whistling a few bars of Schubert's unfinished symphony. Kay, who was horror-struck, moved away after him, running where Abner's footsteps led. Suddenly, from a cell not yet finished, Peter's voice piped up. "If you please," Peter said, "I think I know where the package that you want is."
Ah,
Abner said.
so. And where is the package?
I can't explain it, Peter said, but I could take you there if you want.
Oh, could you?
Abner said.
And give us the slip on the way, no doubt. We are not quite so green. Where is it?
If you please, I thought I saw a package just before they scrobbled the Punch and Judy man up on Bottler's Down.
Ah,
Abner said.
you thought wrong, then. Think again, and think of mushrooms for breakfast. Have you thought of them?
Yes, sir, Peter said.
Well, that's all the breakfast you'll get,
Abner said. He moved away up the gallery so rapidly that Kay could hardly keep pace. As he came near Joe's cell, Joe cried,
I say, old man, a joke's a joke. But don't leave an old pal here in the dark. Not old Joe, Abner.
Yes, old Joe,
Abner replied. He had gone past Joe's cell when something seemed to strike him.
By the way, Joe,
He said.
You don't believe in magic, do you?
Out of the air came little faces, grinning and wicked, with pointed ears and pointed teeth. They flitted swiftly through the bars of Joe's cell and buzzed round Joe's head. Joe beat at them as though they were wasps, but they were too quick to be hit. Abner watched the effect of these imps upon Joe's terror-stricken face.
No, he doesn't believe in magic, Joe doesn't,
He said.
However, take your time. You will presently.
He switched out the light and marched on, turning swiftly up a gallery, which Kay had not noticed. Presently he opened the door into a lighted room and Kay slipped in behind him before the door closed. It was a bare room, carpeted with a thick red carpet and with certain strange magical symbols painted on the walls in red. In the middle of the room, on a pedestal, was a bronze head, its eyelids closed, drooping as though asleep. As Abner lifted his right hand, the eyelids opened. The head raised itself. The lips moved and a voice said,
Command me, master.
Tell me of our plans,
Abner said. The voice spoke from the head.
Your agents have now captured every clergyman attached to the cathedral, as well as most of the cathedral servants and staff.
Is anything going wrong?
Yes,
The bronze head replied.
you should have begun, as I told you, much later in the day. You have given them time to act against you.
Don't criticize me, slave,
Abner said. The head at once cowered down upon the pedestal and began to whimper.
Stop that.
Abner said,
Tell me now, what are they trying to do against me?
All sorts of things,
The head said.
mainly telephoning and telegraphing, trying to get substitutes.
With what success?
Abner said.
Not much yet.
The head said.
It is Christmas. All the clergy are busy in their own parishes, but substitutes will be found. There is a body of friends of the cathedral. I told you of them. The Tagister trustees, they are called. They are the ones. They will rake up clergy from all sorts of places. You will see.
Will I? Abner said. Will they? We'll try that.
He raised his hand in a peculiar manner. Instantly a red-winged figure rose up out of the floor and bowed before him.
Cut all the Tachister telephones and telegraph wires, he said. Oh, wait, bring in those Tachister trustees.
I go, sir.
the winged figure said, disappearing through the ceiling.
That won't see you very far, the brazen head said. Some of the substitute clergy have already started.
Abner raised his right hand again, and another red figure rose from the floor. Command me, master, it said.
Dislocate all railway traffic for 20 miles around Chichester. Jam the points.
I go, sir,
the figure answered, disappearing through the ceiling.
That won't be much use, the bronze head said. They will come by road.
Abner raised his hand again. A third red figure rose from the floor and asked for orders.
Make every road impassable for 20 miles round Chichester,
he said.
But stay, that won't be enough. We must make the air impassable too. Oh, one moment.
He lifted his left hand in a strange way, and an old crone was thrust through the floor by little red hands towards him. She looked so old that she might have been 1,000 years or more. Nose and chin almost met. Her face was the colour of old wood. She seemed terrified of Abner.
What do you want with me, master?
She said.
I want a storm out of the north and the east, Abner said, with snow.
I can't give it,
The old woman said.
You ask too much. I can only sell a storm for a great sum. A bag of amethyst.
I will give you a quarter bag, Abner said. Now let me have the storm.
He produced from his pockets a little canvas bag which did contain amethysts. Kay saw the stones as he emptied them out, a very meagre quarter, which was handed to the old woman. She in turn produced from her pocket a little leather bag, tied with 3 strings at the mouth.
Don't open more than 2 of the strings,
the old woman said warningly,
or you may be sorry.
Don't tell me how I am to proceed,
Abner said.
Away with her.
At once the little red hands plucked the old woman away.
A servant, here,
Abner cried to the red figure.
Away with this to Chichester. Open 2 strings from the mouth of this bag and fill the roads in the air with snow, so that neither cars nor aeroplanes shall come near Chichester. Let any clergyman that tries to get there be buried 6 feet in snow, and not be found until the spring.
He cannot do that,
the brazen head said.
He cannot take life.
Do not interrupt me, you,
Abner said.
As for you, servant, take that bag, open the 3rd string, and flood the countryside with the deepest snow since wolves ran. Make the drifts 8 feet deep round each cathedral door. Away with you.
I go, sir,
the figure said, and vanished through the ceiling. Abner turned to the brazen head.
You have interrupted me, you have criticized me, he said. All this establishment seems given over to mutiny. I will have you learn respect. You shall be upside down for a while.
I implore you, master, not,
the head said, whimpering.
I say yes,
Abner said, and plucking the head from its pedestal, he jammed it violently down upon it upside down, where it whimpered and wailed.
Shut up,
Abner said.
Listen to me and tell me truth. Am I to have that box today?
You will have it under your hand,
the head said.
Huh,
Abner said.
Who will bring me the box?
Kay was by this time trembling lest the head should know where the box was at that moment. It was at that instant that the poor upside-down eyes caught sight of the tiny figure of Kay near the door. The eyes showed astonishment, then excitement. "He'll betray me now," Kay thought, "so as to be turned right side up again." Then he saw the head was rebelling against Abner for being turned upside down. For one of the eyes winked at Kay to reassure him.
"What are you rolling your eyes for?"
Abner asked.
"You'd roll your eyes if you were upside down,"
the head said.
"Is the box near?"
"It is very near."
"Right,"
Abner said.
"Now mend your manners there."
He strode swiftly out of the room, Kay following at once to avoid being shut in. Following on so fast as he could, he heard something which made his heart leap.
"So, Miss Caroline Louisa,"
Abner was saying in some dark den in the rock,
"you would not tell me about the box, though you must know all about it. Now you may like to know that it is on its way to me. Nothing can stop its coming to me."
Caroline Louisa did not answer, but Kay heard her cough and knew that she was there. Abner came striding back past Kay. There came a sudden noise of a door rolling in a groove, and the cave became bright with light. Kay saw that a door in the rock had slid back, and beyond it a curious motor car, thickly sprinkled with snow, was being opened by masked men, who dragged from it two figures whose arms and legs were lashed, whose heads were in felt bags.
"Ah,
Abner said.
the Tatchester trustees, I presume? Working, no doubt, double time, like good friends of the cathedral, to find clergy for the services. Excellent work, but it must now be interrupted for the time. First action, then contemplation. Remove them to the cells."
In deep thought, Abner moved along the rocky gallery. Kay heard a continual murmur of water falling, but soon judged that this noise was not from falling water, but from violent sobbing and lamenting. When they came near to the noise, Abner turned on a light.
"Ah,
Said Abner.
my vocal and orchestral friends from Tatchester. The choir, I think. And is our cocoa as you like it, and you admire our brand of bun? Now listen to me, boys. There is something very disgusting to me in the undisguised grief of boys who do not carry handkerchiefs and use the back of their hands. Stop snivelling, you little beasts. Now, which of you has the box of delights, and where is it?"
Some of the older members of the choir asked him what on earth he meant.
"Very well, then,"
Abner said.
"you have had your chance. Your bloods will be on your own heads. You are doomed. Midnight will soon strike on the cathedral clock, and there will be no service in the cathedral, no. For the cathedral staff will be rolling where Elf the sacred river swishes with organists and boys and bishes down to a sunless sea."
He walked away, followed by threats from the organist, cries from the baritones and basses, and piteous wails from the choir boys. The voices and crying died as Abner sped swiftly into the recesses of the cavern, walking by the aid of a torch which he flashed on from time to time. Kay, on his little tiny feet, had to hurry as best he could after the flashes. Sometimes he fell into some pit in the floor and bumped himself. Sometimes he ran into a projecting stone and bruised himself. He fell to the full misery of being tiny. Presently Abner turned on a light by which Kay saw that they were in a broad gallery, in the side of which, backed against a rock, was a cage of strong iron bars, raised a little from the floor. In the midst of the cage, heavily chained, was old Cole Hawlings. Abner walked up to within a few feet of the bars.
"Master Cole," he said, "oh, Master Lully, great master, the time has come for us to speak together. You are so beset by my power that you can never escape from here without my leave. I come to tell you that the box is now on its way to me. Nothing can stop its coming. Once, long ago, you walked from Spain to Italy to buy the box with your elixir of life. I will sell you the box for the elixir. Will you deal?"
No, Cole said, because you are a greedy scoundrel, unfit to have long life.
"I will repeat the offer once more," Abner said, "but only once. After that you will see."
As he turned away up the gallery, Kay swung himself into the fold of Abner's turned-up trouser, where he was tossed and banged by the rapid going until Abner stopped, unlocked a strong room, entered and shut the door to behind him. It was a stronger room than any that Kay had thought possible. No sound of any sort came within it, as if the walls were more than a foot thick of solid iron. It was brightly lit, about 9 feet high and 12 feet across. On one side there was a small sofa with cushions, on another a table on which stood an open iron deed box. Abner went to the table and burrowed in the open box.
"Yes," he said, "we have not done badly at all with our little ventures. When the box of delights comes, I can sail with these to my quiet island. Ramon Lully will see wisdom. He will grant me the elixir too before I go. But I must have a look at these once more."
He felt at the door to be sure that it was closed.
"Strange," he muttered. "That little boy, Kay Harker, why should he come into my mind? It had better not come into my presence."
At this he produced from his hip pocket a pistol, which he put upon the table beside him. Kay slipped from the trouser end to the floor, where he could watch. Abner opened one of the bags in the deed box.
"Ah, the Duke's rubies," he said. "The setting is rather coarse, but they are a rare crimson. And these emeralds and these pearls, we have done well in pearls, and they are very light to carry. And these are my sapphires, blue and yellow, my favourite stone."
Kay saw him turn out a little bag of sapphires onto the table.
"But I could never part with these," he muttered. "There is something about this blue and this yellow. Why anybody should prefer other stones, I cannot think. But now, for the real box, the rich box."
Kay watched him open a silver jewel box which contained what looked like rolls of brown paper, some of which he unrolled. He could see the glitter of pendants, necklaces, coronets, and stars of glittering diamonds. Abner chuckled as he played with them.
"All the clever jewel thieves in this world," he muttered, "have worked for little Abner getting these. There must be a matter of 300,000 in this little box alone. I shall retire. It's enough even for me."
There was a pause.
"Strange," he said, "strange. That little mildew of a boy is in my thoughts the whole time. I think I will take a nap. That will do me good."
Kay saw him slip off his shoes, lie down upon the sofa, shake the pillows a little and fall instantly asleep. There Kay was, shut up in the strong room for what seemed like hours whilst Abner slept. What shall I do? Kay thought. I know, I'll go to Caroline Louisa and ask her advice. He had only to twirl the knob and speak his wish to be whirled to the corridor where she was prisoned. But here he found himself beset by magic. He called, but she did not hear. He groped, but could not find the prison. Heavy felt blankets came in his way, tripped him up and baffled him. Besides these, horrid little aeroplanes with snouts like wolves came snapping at him. He was soon glad to wish himself back in Abner's strong room, where he found Abner waking from his nap.
I have had a sleep, he said. Come on now.
He took the deed box from the table and laid it on the floor close to Kay. Then he knelt down and unpacked its contents. Some of the bags of jewels almost fell upon Kay, who trembled in every limb, lest he should be seen. What shall I do? Kay thought. I must stay here to learn more of this place if I am to rescue the others. He lay still, hoping that Abner would not see, but Abner was intent upon the jewels. He took some packages from a shelf, removed some of the packages already packed, and began to re-stow the box.
No,
he said when he had finished.
Even now it won't do. I must get some amethysts in.
He pitched some of the packages onto the floor, poured loose amethysts into the box, shook it to make them settle down, and then snatched packages from the floor and crammed them in on top. In his hurry, he picked up Kay with one of the packages, pitched him into the box, jammed him down tight, so that Kay's bones were nearly smashed, and then squeezed him fast with a couple of packages. Then he shut the lid, sat on it to make it close, locked it, passed a chain round the outside of it, apparently secured the chain with a padlock, then lifted it up with a jerk and banged it down on the table with a jolt, so that Kay was shaken, squeezed, banged, bruised and battered as though the coals had been delivered on top of him. By kicking and struggling, he managed to reach the top of the heap, so that he could breathe what little air there was.
That is strong enough for me, he muttered. I will go home.
Struggling hard, he contrived to move his arms and felt in his pocket for the box. But alas, it was no longer there. It must have been jolted out as he struggled among the jewel bags. The precious box was gone. There he was, no bigger than a mouse, perhaps 40 miles from home, in a strong room in a prison in the rock, padlocked and chained within a locked iron box, which was perhaps soon to be carried to some distant island. He heard a cork drawn, and then he heard Abner apparently cracking walnuts. There came the glug-glug of something poured from a bottle, and he heard Abner's teeth crunching nuts, and his lips smacking over his drink.
A very pretty little port,
Abner was saying.
A little lacking in body, but a pleasant afternoon drink.
Kay heard the glug-glug repeated more than once. Then Abner picked up the deed box from the table and shook it.
Ah, he said, not many people shake £500,000 of jewels at one go. Soon I shall be aboard the submarine, speeding through the billows. Oh, happy Abner! And to think of all the benefits I have conferred, the stimulus I have given to the jewel trade. Half the noble families of Europe have had to buy new jewels because of me. Then, too, the benefit that I have conferred upon the church. Now at one swoop the curate becomes a rector, the rector a canon, the canon an archdeacon, the archdeacon a dean, and the dean a bishop. Think, too, what I do to the tourist industry. Thousands will come to Chichester to see the scene of the recent outrages, and this romantic pile here will be all water underneath and charred ashes above. I will open the sluices now. I have emptied 6 gallons of petrol into the older parts of the house downstairs, where the wood is driest. A wax vesta on my return from Chichester will suffice for that. With that splendour I shall pass from here, a gurgling flood deep down in the cave, and a roaring bonfire above.
Kay heard Abner open the strong room door, which he slammed to behind him. He set out walking fast, swinging the deed box to and fro, and singing light-heartedly. Each swing drove hard knobs in the bag onto some part of poor Kay, who rolled this way and that, almost suffocated, and was forced to lay face down with arms outspread to keep from being shaken under the bags. One chapter left.